Hi, I've got a real interesting bit of kit for you today. This is a Uni-T function generator, but it's not just a Uni-T function generator, it's a $5,700 US Uni-T function generator. And if that's got scratch in your head because you're used to thinking about Uni-T is making like low-cost like multimeters like this, well, I've done a video, I'll link it in if you haven't seen it, talking about the rise of Uni-T and now how they're getting into higher-end stuff. And this is one of their new high-end bits of kit, which as far as I know is only matched by one other model on the market, which is the Siglent SDG9000 series generator, or Siglent also do a 7000 series generator, which is above that, but that Siglent is only a 2-channel model. This is a 4-channel function gen 500 megahertz. As far as I'm aware, this is the only 4-channel 500 megahertz, but put a little asterisk next to that 500 megahertz there. We'll see some limitations, but still, this is a real interesting bit of kit. Let's check out what a almost $6,000 US function gen has to offer. So obviously what you're paying for here is the 500 megahertz bandwidth, available only on channels 1 and 2, by the way, and 2.5 gig samples per second sampling rate. So this is like really remarkable. Most function gens like top out at like, 100 meg or something, in that order. This is 500 meg. Now, of course, you can get much higher frequency like this, but they're usually not function generators. They're like RF signal generators, which are a different beast entirely, designed for a whole different thing. But this is a normal function gen, and actually, this isn't the top range model. So this model is the UTG9504T, 500 megahertz, but they do actually make a 600 megahertz model of this, the 9604T, and that one's around 6,200 US bucks. Whoa. Unfortunately, this video could be an hour long if I went through every single possible option and compared this with the matching Siglent SDG9000. So please forgive me if I skip a few things, because these function gens do a lot of stuff and they have many different sort of quirks and limitations depending on what you're doing, and in this particular case, which channels you're using, because you don't get the 500 megs on all 4 channels, unfortunately. But on this model, you do get the 500 meg bandwidth and 2.5 gig samples per second on both channels 1 and channel 2. Channels 3 and 4 here, though, are limited to 200 megahertz max bandwidth with 625 meg samples sample rate there. But curiously, these 2 outputs here are 16-bit, whereas the 500 meg ones here are only 14-bit. Now, the 600 megahertz model, the 9604T model, this has full 16 bits on these channels as well as 16-bit on these ones. So, and for what, 500 bucks difference? I know that's a lot of money, but when you're talking about a $6,000 function gen, I'd be springing for the 600 megahertz model to get your 16-bit on here. So that's a bit disappointing. I don't know why they differentiate there, but the ADC is going to cost more. Anyway, it's got all your requisite stuff here you'd expect on any function gen. The user interface here, I rather like it, actually. So we can select any one of our 4 channels here, and then we've got all of the different functions here. Continue, that should be continuous. First spelling mistake. Apparently people on the forum have actually found like half a dozen spelling mistakes in the user interface. Not a good look. And then each channel can have modulate, for example. We can get up to 256 symbol quadrature amplitude modulation here, plus all the other requisite modulations here. It's got absolutely everything. Then of course you can do sweeps, and you can do bursts, and you can do these on any of the 4 channels here. As you can see, it's got a built-in frequency counter that goes up to 800 megs apparently. And if we go into utility over here, we actually have digital signals as well. So we can do SPI bus, I2C, and UART as well. And you can do those at the same time as doing all the other stuff as well. So having 4 channels, really pretty schmick. So the modulation stuff, for example, is very advanced. The as I said, the quadrature amplitude modulation here, it can go up to 256 symbols here. Unfortunately, the bit rate here is only a maximum of 2 megbits per second, whereas the Siglent, I believe, can go up to like 37 megbits per second. So there's a big difference there. That makes no difference if you're doing 256 bit or whatever. So nice little IQ display map here. Unfortunately, please correct me, Uni-T, in the comments down below, or somebody else. I can't find a way to actually get the independent I and Q signals out like you can do on the Siglent function gen. But Siglent, for the IQ feature, they actually charge us $675 US extra. So that's a bit of a bummer, whereas, you know, this one's built in. But at least they have that ability. As far as I know, this Uni-T doesn't have it, or at least I haven't found it yet, and I can't find it in the manual. So that's a bit disappointing. With all this advanced capability, I would have liked to have seen that feature. In the channel utility menu here, we've got a nice little convenient overview of all the channels currently set, and then you can set the coupling modes as well, and you've got a nice merge feature with a nice diagrammatic display here to show you how you can actually merge channel 1 and channel 2 signals onto the various outputs. So that's pretty cool. So let's say, for example, we were generating just an amplitude modulated sine wave on channel 1 here, and you can see that up there, nice. And we wanted to mix that with a signal on channel 2, which is a 4-symbol quadrature amplitude modulation here at 100 bits per second rate here. Well, we can go into the utility menu here, and then we can flip merge there, and boom! There's our little wiggly wiggle yeah symbol. So we can just switch that off or on using that merge function. Very nice. And you can see it's got a built-in frequency counter up here, which displays on the top. I'm just feeding it up its own clacker here, so it's measuring its own 10 megahertz reference. But if you go over to the utility menu here, you can see you get all the statistical info for that. Updates about once a second here for that. Apparently it'll go up to about 800 megahertz maximum with the external counter input, but I'm not going to test that. Now, of course, I can't do this without mentioning of how this thing looks. I know looks isn't that important, it's how it performs. But when you're paying $6,000 for a function generator, I want it to look like a professional bit of kit, like this over here, for example. I just, want it to look nice. But the vibe of this thing is just not a $6,000 function gen. But I know that's not important to some people, but to me, I think Uni-T should just hire an industrial designer who knows about good professional looks and functionality. I mean, it's not crazy like, Rigol used to have like 5 different fonts on their front panel or something like that. But yeah, it just doesn't ooze like I'm looking at a $6,000 function generator. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Now, I've got high CRI color matched lights in my lab here, and my camera is color balanced. So what you're seeing is accurate colors here. And you'll notice that, the red kind of matches there, but this, that's like an aqua turquoisey type thing. It's not blue like here. Channel 3, okay, that's more orange than yellowish, but okay, fair enough. But channel 4 is like purple. Is it purple? But can you tell the difference between those two colors? Why use, that's more like a pinky type color than a purple? Like, why have it so close? I don't get it. And I must say, I'm not a fan of how the buttons light up here. You can barely see them. I mean, I can turn my side studio lights off here, and it's a bit how you're doing. But anyway, but I must say, I do actually like the user interface, how it operates. The screen is big, massive, 10-inch capacitive touch jobby. It's really nice. It's really, it's quite well laid out. I really like how, just the 1, 2, 3, 4 across here like this is nice. And then we've got help built in here, continue. It should be continuous. Continue work mode. I don't know, spot any potential spelling mistakes in there. But anyway, yeah, built-in help. And if you hit the home button over here, you actually get all 4 channels at the same time on the screen. So that's really quite handy. I like the grouping of the controls here with the waveforms, the functions up here. You've got continuous wave, modulation, sweep, and burst, although you can do all this on the touchy, feely screen here. And I really like, the keypad interface. We can set that to 5 megahertz, for example. Looks really nice. And a nice little touch, if we go in there like that, okay, and we move the cursor across, you can see it moving over like that, okay, and so it's over on the 3rd digit. If I go over to here and then take that to, say, the 2nd digit here, when I go back to there, it remembers where the cursor was. So that's just really nice. Somebody was thinking when they implemented that. Thumbs up. And I understand all the functions here. One I don't get, though, is WARB. We've already got ARB up here. What's WARB? Windowed ARB? I don't know. Couldn't find it in the manual. And if I press it, function not available. And on the back, of course, you'd expect an external frequency reference input, clock reference input. I think it's half a ppm stability with the internal one. Anyway, you can get the external reference out, which of course is handy for synchronization. Then frequency counter input, frequency shift key in triggering input, and also external modulation. Not that you'd probably ever need that because it's already got such advanced modulation capability built in. But anyway, USB and the Ethernets as well. So I connected up the LAN. It gives me a local IP address, but I don't get anything. So there's no web-based user interface. So I don't know what software comes with it. Not going to try that in this video. Sorry.